Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Rust series. I am Chiranjeevi and I am working as a product engineer at O slash. So this episode 2 is about cargo, but let's just see the recap of episode 1 just as a warm up so that we don't lose the context of what we are doing. So let's see what we saw in episode 1. So we went through installation and we installed Rust up, which is a tool chain manager. So a toolchain manager is something which manages the tools which are installed for that programming language by it. So the tools which it installed in the previous episode was Rust C and Cargo. So this episode 2 is all about this Cargo. So we will keep that aside. So Rust C is the compiler of Rust. So later we created a Rust file, and for every Rust file, the one thing that is common is the extension which is .rs for Rust. So after that we wrote a program and we discussed that for every program to run, main function is necessary. Without a main function it won't run. So after writing a program, we compiled it using the Rust C compiler and it produces a .exe file. So whatever program we compiled, it will create a .exe file for that program. So after creating that file, we ran that .exe file using these commands. If it is in Linux or Mac, this is the command we used. If it is on Windows, this is the command we used. So that's basically it for the recap of episode 1. So let's dive into the core of this episode 2, which is about cargo. So the first valid question should be, what is cargo? So cargo is two things, one of which is it is a package manager. So to know what package manager is, let's understand what packages are. So a package is generally which gives you some functionality ready-made. So let's take an example. In your project, you want to use random numbers somewhere. Your project is not about random numbers, but you are using random numbers somewhere just as a small functionality. So you don't want to write code from scratch for every small functionality that you're using in your project. So what you can do is you can see if there is a package which provides you that functionality out of the box so that you don't need to create them from scratch. So there is a package called rand in Rust which you can use to create random numbers. So it provides that functionality for you. So that's what a package is. So what a package manager is, its job is to install, uninstall, update, or basically any kind of management regarding packages. This is what a package manager is. So the other thing what cargo is, it is a build tool. As we saw in our episode 1, when we write a program, we can compile it and it will give you an .exe file which will run, which can be run. So in general, when you are creating a project in real world, you don't have a single program. You will have multiple programs, multiple files. So you can't keep compiling each file and create .exe for each file and keep running all of them. So what you can do is you can compile all of the files and create a single exe file which can run as a complete software. So a build tool is something which does that work. So it takes all of your files, compiles everything and creates a single exe file which can run as a software and which you can distribute. So that's what a build tool is. So the cargo is package manager and build tool for Rust. This is what cargo is. Now that we know what cargo is, let's create a project using cargo. So do we need to create a project using cargo? Can't we just run a program like we did using Rust C in the previous episode? The answer is technically yes, but it's not a good practice. It's simple and a good practice to create a project using cargo, and let me tell you why after creating it. So I am opening a folder. This is just a projects folder which I have on my desktop, and I am opening terminal using control and tilde symbol. If you are on Mac, it's command and tilde. So I am inside this projects folder and I am creating a new project using cargo. The command for that is cargo space new space and the name of the project. So the name of the project is cargo underscore learn. So why I kept underscore, that's because the convention we use in Rust. So I am clicking enter. So it's saying created binary application cargo learn package. It created a project here. Let's see what's inside this. So inside this there are some default folders and some files. These are all default that came after creating a new project. So one thing which is very important out of all these files is this Cargo.toml file. So this Cargo.toml file allows you to specify your configuration of your project. So basically what this configuration is nothing but name of your project and version of your project and edition of the configuration file that you are using. So basically now the Rust is using this edition of configuration file. Let's say 2 years later they change that we want to change this configuration file format and we are using this new format. So then the edition will be that year. So it's basically telling the edition of the configuration file. And dependencies. So if you are using any dependencies or dependencies here is nothing but packages. So the packages that we discussed before, those packages. So those packages we specify here which version of that package that we are using, so that it can install or uninstall whatever it can manage. It can keep track of all those packages. So this is what a Cargo.toml file generally has. So earlier I said that it's not a good practice to not use cargo new command. That's because if you are not using this cargo new command and if you want to run using cargo a program, you have to create this cargo.toml file and you have to specify the dependencies which packages which you are using in your project, and you have to do all this manually, which is not a good practice because you may miss something. So this is a good practice to use this command cargo new and project name so that you don't miss anything, and it's a good practice. Let's see what's inside this main.rs file. So this file which is created by default by the cargo. So let's see what's inside this. So inside this there is a main function which will print hello world like how we did in our previous episode. So let's use this file only. So let's see how we can compile these files and create a single .exe file for the project. So let's see how we can do that. For that we have a command called cargo space build. Remember that I said cargo is also a build tool, along with it's a package manager. So since it's a build tool, it can build the entire project into a single exe file. So that's what we are doing right now. So using this cargo build command we can build the project. So this is saying an error could not find cargo.toml. That is because I am inside this projects folder, but that cargo.toml file is inside this cargo learn. I forgot to change to that directory. So what I have to do is cd cargo learn. So now I am inside this cargo learn. Now if I use the same command which is cargo build, it should work. See, it's saying compiling cargo learn version this, and it's an unoptimized version. So what this unoptimized version, we will see that in the next section. So let's see, it created a new folder here. So let's see what's inside this new folder. Inside this new folder there is another folder which is debug, and inside this cargo learn.exe. So this is the file which we wanted. This is the reason why we compiled, why we built the project. So this is the .exe file for the entire project. So why is inside debug? That's the question here. So by default when you build something, the cargo thinks that it's for debugging purpose. So when you specify that it is for the actual production, then only it will build for production. Otherwise the cargo thinks that it's for debugging and for the development purpose only. Let's try to run this .exe file which it built by using this command /, where is it? It's inside target, which is inside and it is inside debug, and the file name is cargo learn.exe. Let's try running it by clicking enter. So it's printing hello world, which is expected according to this file. If you are a developer who is using Rust, building every time and seeing where the file created and running that file is a painful process, doing it every time if you are especially developing. So for that we have another command which we can use regularly to ease the process, which is cargo run, cargo space run. So this will automatically build the project and it will also run the .exe file which it created. So let's see if it works or not. I'm clicking enter. So it finished and it ran as well. It gave the output hello world. It went very fast because the .exe file is already created. So what we will do is, we will do one thing. So we will delete this target folder itself. So it deleted the target folder. So it's back to somewhere it is before cargo build command. So now let's try running cargo run again, and let's see how much time it's taking. So it almost took the same time, just because it compiled this time. It didn't compile before. If you see, there is no compiled step here because it already compiled before and there is already a .exe file and there are no changes. If we have made some changes, then it would have definitely compiled it again. But since we didn't make any change and we ran cargo run, there are no changes, so it didn't compile. Now since there is no .exe file, it had to compile, so it took an extra step to compile. That's why there is an extra time. So it ran automatically. So this is an useful command when we are developing in Rust especially. We skipped one thing before, which is this unoptimized word. So it's saying that this build is unoptimized, and why is it unoptimized and how we can optimize it. So as we see, the .exe file is created at debug, under debug, because as we said before, cargo by default thinks that we are building for debugging purpose, for development purpose. So what if you want to build the project for production purpose? You want to create the software and you want to release it. So how do you build in that case? So in that case, what you can do is, you can use this command called cargo space build, and you want to specially specify that you are releasing this build. So hyphen release. So now cargo thinks that you are releasing this build, so that it will give you the optimized result. So if I click enter, it's saying compiled, finished, release optimized target. So now if you open target, and you will see that there is another folder called release. If you open this, there is this cargo.lock, which is an optimized build. So what is the difference between optimized and unoptimized release? So basically, the optimized version will run much faster than the unoptimized version. So why are we not using optimized version when we are debugging or developing the project? So the reason is, the time it takes to create an optimized version is much more than the unoptimized version. Since we have only one file here and we don't have multiple files and it's not a big project, you don't see much difference in the runtime. It took almost same time for both optimized and unoptimized. But if you are dealing with a very big project where there are multiple files, then you will definitely see a difference between both optimized and unoptimized versions of creating these optimized and optimized versions of the files. So that's why we use unoptimized whenever we are developing. So once we think that the development process is done and you want to release the build, then only you will use this command cargo build release. If you have observed carefully, when we used cargo build command for the first time, it created a new file, which is this cargo.lock file. Let's see what's inside this. So it has something called packages, and under that there is a name version. So what it does is, it will take all the dependencies that are listed here. We are not listing anything here because we are not using anything, but if you are using some other packages from outside, then you have to list all of these here. So we call them as dependencies because your project depends on that particular package. So when you list all of these, this cargo.log file will have all those packages listed here, including your project name with the exact version numbers. So let's say if you onboarded a new developer into your team and they want to contribute to your project, so they want to run your project and see. So to run the project, they need to have all the required packages installed. So to install the exact package versions that you are using, they need to know the exact numbers. So what happens if they don't install exact versions? So the project will become inconsistent, so they will not see the exact results that you want them to see. So to keep all these inconsistencies away, they have to install the exact version numbers that you want them to install. So for that, this cargo.log file is useful. You will push this cargo.log file along with your code to the GitHub or GitLab, from where the new developer can extract the code and this cargo.log file and can install the packages exact versions that you want them to install. So that's the use of this cargo.log file. Let's make a small practical about what I told just before. about getting the code from GitHub and running that in our computer. So let's do that. So for that we have to go to GitHub repository. So this is a repository that I created. This is a sample repository. This is public, so you can also visit this link and do whatever I'm doing right now, so that you can also get some practice. So I want to get all of this code here present here into my laptop and run it in my laptop. So for that what I have to do is I have to click on this and it will have a link here. So I'll copy this link. So after copying this link, I'm going to terminal again. So I'm inside this Cargo.lock project and I want to go outside. So I'm executing cd dot dot. So it will take me back to the projects folder. So here I want to paste this entire project that I copied before. So the command for that is git clone and paste that link. So to do all of this, you need git to be installed in your system. If not, please install the git. So after executing this command, it's saying cloning, and after executing command, if you execute ls, you can see there are two projects now inside the projects folder, which is Cargo.lock and Cargo run sample, which I pasted right now. I'm using the word pasted, but it's not actually pasting, it's cloning. So you can see that here. So if you see, I'm closing this, if you see, there is this Cargo.lock file in this project as well. So this is the project that I created. So I added few packages here. So under the dependencies here, there are two packages, which is syn and rand, which is used to create random numbers. So what Cargo.lock file consists of. So it has the project name that I created, and it has all the packages which are necessary for the dependencies that I specified here. So ideally these two should be there. These two will also be there here. If we see carefully, if you see, rand is there, but there are also a lot of other things which are necessary for the dependencies which we specified here. So those are the dependencies for these dependencies. You can think of it like this. So now let's go inside this Cargo run sample. We are inside this Cargo run sample. So we cloned the project. So now what we can do is we can simply use Cargo run command to run the project. If you see, it's getting all those packages and installing exact version numbers that are specified in this Cargo.lock file. If you see rand core, it's saying 0.6.4, and here also it's saying 0.6.4. So this is why we use Cargo.lock file, and it ran also. So it's giving output, you cloned this project and ran it successfully, congratulations. So we successfully cloned the project and we successfully installed all the packages that we wanted, and we successfully ran the project. This is how you can do it. You can also do this. So I will give the link in the description for the repository that I showed. So you can also do this. That's it for this video. Make sure you like, share with your friends if you find it useful, and subscribe. Thank you.